And now for our feature presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
You're listening to Straight Talk with Dean and Mark. Call in to join the conversation at 646-668-8393.
Welcome to Straight Talk with Dean and Mark. It's the six-man Dean Geronimo in the studio with Mark Lee, and we welcome you to yet another exciting episode of our show. Man, we just keep rolling and we keep moving. It's the 29th day of April, man. April is now over in one more day, but regardless of that fact, it's the six-man Dean Geronimo. I'm in the studio with my right-hand man, Mark Lee, from NJ to NC. So, Mark, what's good in your neck of the woods, my brother?
Excited about things we're having going on. So we're just seeing what's happening here. So we've got the Mook Festival was actually jumping recently. So I don't know if you saw that we had Questlove in town. So Questlove was here in town, and he was definitely rocking. And I had a chance to see him do a free performance. It was in a open space. They call it the Cage, but they've done some interesting things there. Did get by and see some of the things that they were selling at Moog as well. Did not get to see many of the other shows, but definitely looked like a lot of folks were in town for it, both from around the Durham area as well as from outside. But I definitely saw 20 minutes of Questlove, and he was rocking. Also met a young lady, Astra Taylor, I believe is her name, but she did a film called What is Democracy? So she's looking at kind of like the history of democracy and what democracy really means in this day and time. So I talked to her about getting on the show. Sounds like she's very much interested in it. And from what I saw, the first part of the film, it was very interesting. We had Mickey Mishaw was featured in that film. He's a former state senator that just retired recently. Zach Hawkins came in and took his place and is doing a great job. But he was there, and then there was some people that were running a kind of like a textile shop that was definitely very much a Latin American run and things of that nature. And then there were some other people of interest as well from not just this area but from throughout, because she actually went to Athens, the seat of democracy, and talked to some people in the Greek area as well. I believe it was Athens. It might have been one of the other cities if memory is serving me correctly. So definitely some interesting conversation. And I'm looking forward to having her on the show because I told her about the show. She was very much interested. Met a young lady that's doing some very powerful work connecting Durham's downtown area to its historically black community, an Asian lady by the name of Tara Mae Smith, and told her some of the things that we're doing. And she's got some interesting stories as well just about her life, things that she's one member of her family, her mother is of, I believe, Chinese descent, and then her dad, I believe she told me, was of mixed blood descent. I think he might have been white and Cherokee. So we're going to have her on just to talk about her activism and some of the things that she's got going on. So, things are rolling in Durham as always. And on, I believe it was Wednesday night, the new Green Deal people were in town. So I talked to several of them about getting on the show, but they were having like a town hall meeting, a discussion about some of the things that AOC has put on the table in terms of the new Green Deal and some of the things that they would like to see happen in terms of making this a more environmentally friendly kind of country and getting us away from some of these things that are definitely detrimental to us in terms of not just our own personal lives and with cars and things of that nature, but definitely detrimental to the environment and what's out there in the environment. So it was definitely interesting hearing some of that conversation. And then on Saturday, two things were going on. I was trying to get to an event that I did not make it to, but I'll be trying to help at least one of the contestants. We have an event here called the Beaver Pageant, which is like a fun little takeoff campaign. People dress up in all kinds of outfits with like actual live dressed as costume of different beavers. So you might have Hollywood beaver, you might have Star Trek beaver. There's no telling what you might come up with. But one of my friends from the Carolina Theater, she's going to be a contestant. So, and I think there's some other contestants that I will know as well. But I know when I've gone there, it's always been fun. And they were having their kickoff event on Saturday. I did not make it to the kickoff event, but I did talk to a friend that went. They said that it was a fun event as always, and the event itself will be on June 1st. So that's always a fun activity. You get to actually, this is like done in it's a pageant, but it's like a spoof pageant. So you get to bribe the judges. You get to do all kinds of fun things that you cannot do during regular pageants. So that ought to be a fun thing to have folks check out. If they're not familiar with it, they should look up the Beaver Pageant. But it's a fundraiser for the Ellery Creek area. So it's also environmentally based because that's an environmental area here in our area that they try to keep protected and everything. So always a fun event. I've been to it a few years, and every time I've gone, I've always enjoyed myself. I've actually even participated, not as a contestant, but I think I did some DJing one year for them and had done some some support kind of behind the scenes kind of stuff. So definitely always a fun thing to be involved in. I've had some friends that have been judges, and I must give, changing just the topic real quickly, I must give one shout out and some sad news. But the shout out I've got to give is that the reason I did not go was we had stuff going on at A-Town on Saturday. And one of the events we had was my friend Kibo, who's a longtime friend. We've actually found out after doing some research that we're probably related, might be second or third or some kind of distant cousin or everything. But his mother was celebrating her 98th birthday. So she had some folks that came down from actually your neck of the woods, because he brought her back home from, well, not just your neck of the woods, but an area that you like to support. He brought her down from Baltimore because they had moved from North Carolina to Baltimore and had lived in Baltimore for a number of years, and now she's back home and living down here with Kibo and other people that are even like some extended non-family that are claiming her as family, as my friend Yvonne put it, and everything. But definitely still very energetic, still full of life, full of vigor and all of that kind of stuff. And we'll definitely, as my friend Yvonne said, we'll tell you what she thinks, whether you want to hear it or not. So she's one of those kind of ladies that will definitely keep it real with you and is not going to let the fact that she is getting up there in age impact what she's got to say about what you might be doing or not doing. So apparently she is one that will definitely put you in your spot if you need to be put in your spot. But, you know, anytime we get folks that make it up there into the 90s, the hundreds, as we talked about Miss McLaughlin, that should be praised, particularly when we have sad news like we had earlier today. Because earlier today, I don't know if you saw this online, but a very well-known movie producer, that being John Singleton, he did pass away. They said that his first film, his powerful debut film, Boys in the Hood, earned him an Oscar nomination for Best Director, the first for an African-American, and he died earlier today in Los Angeles, and he was only 51, so he's only a few years younger than myself. So says his death was confirmed in a family statement after he was taken off life support. Mr. Singleton had been admitted to the hospital on April 17th, reportedly after having a stroke. His family said he had a history of hypertension. So, I mean, definitely, you know, you don't want to see things like this be a warning to so many of us that might have those kind of issues. But, you know, they definitely need to check blood pressure and symptoms of strokes and things of that nature, because sometimes these things can be caught earlier. I don't know what his whole medical history was and what he was doing in terms of treatment and things of that nature, but just want to let folks know that, you know, that is something we all should be concerned about on a regular basis and definitely need to check on that. I believe that you have some history in your family of folks with hypertension and things, if I remember some of our past conversations.
Actually, I am a 3-time stroke survivor, so, you know, there's nothing wrong with staying healthy, but also know that it can happen to anyone. So, you know, they said he had, you know, issues with the hypertension, which could have led to that stroke. That is, I think, the second person that has had a stroke of that nature and passed away not too long after. You know, and those are usually called cerebral vascular accidents, what most normal folks call a major stroke. And unfortunately, it, you know, they weren't able to give him anything to reverse the effects of that stroke, and his family decided, you know, took him off of life support. So now he's gone. He is now an ancestor. We are here at Straight Talk with Dean and Mark, send condolences to his family, and we also thank him for entertaining us for so many years, and he's going to be a great loss, man.
Oh, yeah, definitely a great loss. As a matter of fact, I was reading one of these articles that said that after Columbia showed the movie at the 1991 Cannes Film Festival talking about Boys in the Hood, film critic Roger Ebert praised its power, honesty, and filmmaking skill. By the end of Boys in the Hood, he wrote, I realized I had not seen a brilliant directorial debut, but an American film of enormous importance. It says, and I definitely remember that movie, and it was definitely a film that I think many of us will remember as being one of the great films of that era and everything. It definitely told a story that needed to be told at that time, and actually a story that is still relevant to this day. I mean, a lot of what he was talking about, even though that was back then, it's still relevant to what's happening in Los Angeles and even around the rest of the country.
Oh, yeah, and being a young college student back then when that movie came out, you know, you see it and you say, well, damn, they live like that over there. I'm from Virginia, so what it depicted for someone living over on the West Coast, it's all the way real. But then from Boys in the Hood in 91, I think 2 years later, he came out with, like, Poetic Justice. And then Baby Boy, Higher Learning, you know, so many different movies that are part of my younger years, you know, and having experienced his artistry, you know, Four Brothers, Shaft.
Oh, yeah.
Hustle and Flow. What else? Remember Rosewood? You got to go back.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like those movies, man, and so many other movies, you know, that he had his hand in. And it's just even great talent.
Yeah, even some TV shows, because they were talking about the fact that he did direct episodes of Empire. He did was involved in The People versus O.J. Simpson, American Crime Story, and Billions. So he was definitely involved in a number of things, not just in film industry, but also on the TV side as well.
Yeah, most recently the TV show Snowfall. So, you know, which is a very good TV show. So I hope that it continues in his spirit, you know, and it doesn't just go by the wayside, because it actually talks about how the crack era began in the 80s, and it's set over there in California. So, you know, big loss, man, big loss.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. That was a very big loss to the film community, and like I said, he was definitely a major player in the film industry, particularly in our film industry and things of that nature. I was just wondering, as we're waiting for John Brown to call us and everything, what you thought, in changing the topic just a little bit, about the fact that we are now at 20 candidates, and, you know, Biden has now joined. He is now cast as the front runner, since he was the past vice president, but he is now joined in the 2020 race. We're up to 20 candidates, I believe. So I believe I posted that. We've got 20 candidates out there that are trying to vie to take on that person that is currently occupying the White House. We don't necessarily want to call him by name.
You know what? Right now, I don't care who puts their hat in the ring for President of the United States, because it's a whole year and 6 months before the election. So we got a year and a half of people that are going to tell you what they want. They're going to lie to you. They're going to go to our churches and smile and step and fetch it and all that other kind of good stuff to try to drum up a vote. When they primaries start and when they start really campaigning, that'll be the time to really listen, to find out who's full of it or who's trying to be worth something, I guess. You know.
We'll find out who's going to be worth something and who's not going to be worth something, because you're right. Some of them will not be worth anything at all. And, you know, I don't know what's going on with this country, but we just cannot seem to stop these shootings that are going on, whether it's here or whether it's in other parts of the country. I believe over this weekend we had another major shooting. This one was at a synagogue. So, like I said, it seems like every time you turn around, folks are putting out guns and doing these kinds of shootings. One interesting fact, and I don't know if you had caught this or not, but that I found really interesting, was that apparently of the last several shootings, and, you know, no matter what your views are on gun control, and yes, I think that people do have the right to bear arms and everything, but the last couple of major shootings, they have been using some very heavy firepower. I think that there was like a release, and I want to say that of the last 15 or 20s, there